Hi, this is Christian, and welcome to NFL Updates Express, your weekly dose of NFL news, coming your way the Thanksgiving Day special. The first game on Thanksgiving Day is when the Minnesota Vikings take on the Detroit Lions. Now, the Vikings got back on track after a tough 4-game losing streak. They beat the Arizona Cardinals 24-30. And their defense came alive once again. Their offense produced enough points, their special team showed up, and the Vikings looked to be back to a respectable team again. The Detroit Lions, on the other hand, well, they have the same record as the Vikings at a 6-4 record, and so this game will be very crucial to potentially decide who will win the NFC North Division, the Vikings and the Lions, and also the Packers right behind. So it'll be interesting to see who can win this division, and this is a big game on Thanksgiving Day. For the Vikings, well, Sam Bradford's going to really need to step it up against a pretty hot Detroit Lions defense. The Lions have weapons of their own. They have Golden Tate, an explosive receiver, Marvin Jones, and Theo Riddick in the backfield, and of course Matthew Stafford, who always comes up clutch in the fourth quarter. This should be a very, very tight game, but I just think that right now Minnesota is slightly the better team, and even though Detroit usually comes up clutch in the fourth, I think it'll be kind of a low-scoring game, but ultimately, I see the Minnesota Vikings getting the job done on Thanksgiving Day by the score of 19-13. The next matchup on Thanksgiving Day is a big NFC East rivalry when the Washington Redskins take on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, they have a 9-game winning streak coming into this game, beating the Ravens by 10 points. And they look very, very good, like the best team in the NFC with Seattle right behind, so the Cowboys would still like to pick up a big divisional win and keep pace for the number 1 seed in the NFC. For the Redskins, they're doing pretty good themselves, but they're going to be motivated trying to beat the Dallas Cowboys and end their winning streak, and I think the Redskins have the tools to do it. Kirk Cousins has been playing pretty solidly for the majority of this season, and I'm really impressed by Jamison Crowder, who's really broken out into the Redskins' number 1 receiver because Deshaun Jackson has been injured for the majority of the season. And it'll be interesting to see how the Redskins can play on the running game. They have Robert Kelly and Matt Jones in the backfield, and so if they can have a successful day against the Dallas defensive line, then the Redskins certainly have an opportunity to win this game. And Dallas, well, we know how good their offensive line is, and with Ezekiel Elliott and throw in maybe Alfred Morris as well, the Cowboys should have a pretty potent running attack against this Redskins defense. Overall, though, I think the Cowboys are the better team, but something tells me this streak will end. I am taking the Washington Redskins to end the Dallas Cowboys' 9-game winning streak, winning this game in overtime 23-20. The final game on Thanksgiving night is a big matchup when the Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Colts typically don't play well against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think this game will be a little bit different. I think the Colts have what it takes, especially being at home, and I think that's a big difference. If they were at Heinz Field, well, I wouldn't give the Colts much of a chance, but I think because they are at home in a dome and playing on Thanksgiving, I think that should be all the motivation they need to keep this game competitive. The Steelers, I have not been impressed by what I've seen from them so far this year. They just haven't been the team that most people thought they'd be a Super Bowl contender. And I mean, they could still make the Super Bowl, but right now they just need to focus on winning games because they're far from that right now, with the Patriots clearly being the best team in the AFC when many people thought the Steelers would be. And also the Raiders, Chiefs, among other teams, are far ahead of what the Steelers should be. And the Colts, well, not many people thought they'd be a Super Bowl contender, but definitely better than what their record states they are now at 5-5. But I think the Colts, they can win this game, and I think they'll put up a good fight. Watch out for Dante Moncrief and T.Y. Hilton, the 2 big receivers for the Indianapolis Colts. I think they'll both have pretty solid days against the Steelers secondary that has had struggles at times, but Steelers cornerback Artie Burns has been playing pretty well, so maybe he'll be shutting down one of those receivers. We'll just have to find out and see. But overall, I think this should be a pretty good game, but ultimately Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, and the Steelers edge out the Colts by the score of 27-20. The first matchup on Thanksgiving Day is when the Minnesota Vikings take on the Detroit Lions. Let's see who Harmony picks. She looks at the Minnesota Vikings, and it looks like she predicts the Minnesota Vikings to defeat the Detroit Lions. The second matchup on Thanksgiving Day is when the Washington Redskins take on the Dallas Cowboys in this NFC East rivalry. Let's see who Harmony chooses. And she looks at the Redskins early. Will she decide the Redskins? And she will. The Washington Redskins will defeat the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. The final matchup on Thanksgiving Day is when the Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Lucas Oil Stadium to take on the Indianapolis Colts. Let's see who Harmony picks. And she's going to walk over to Indianapolis. And she's got it. She's choosing the Indianapolis Colts to defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thanksgiving night. Hi, this is Christian Clark, and this is Cooking It with Clark. So let's begin. So, we have all these ingredients out here, and similar to our food comparison segment from last year's Thanksgiving episode, but this is a little bit different. Today we're going to be making a pumpkin pie, but you see all the logos on the ingredients? Well, each of them represents a different team, and so we're going to show you what they mean. So first, we have the Minnesota Vikings and butter. Now butter, well, it's interesting. It will taste pretty good, but not by itself. It's pretty disgusting if you eat it by itself. I would never recommend that. But just like the Minnesota Vikings, well, Bradford can't do it alone, but with an amazing defense, they can make a run in the NFC North. They faltered off in the second half of the season, but never count the Minnesota Vikings and their tenacious defense out with this butter. Next, we have the Detroit Lions, and I'm comparing them to eggs. Now, you can either get a good egg like this, or you can get a bad egg. It's all broken up and disgusting. Now, the Lions, well, they've beat some pretty good teams this season, but they just seem to run into some really bad games that makes you scratch your head and say, are the Lions for real? But Matthew Stafford has played amazing, especially in the fourth quarter of games, and I'm really impressed from what I've seen by the Lions. So hopefully we see some more good eggs from the Detroit Lions. The next matchup here, we have the Steelers and the Colts. And well, the Steelers, we're comparing them to the pumpkin pie mix. Now, we're not going to make a pumpkin pie from scratch because that takes too long and you guys have lives. But the Steelers, well, they're one of the most popular teams and they're the main attraction on this Thanksgiving Day. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts. And well, the Colts, we're comparing them to vanilla extract. Now, vanilla extract is just a little few drops in a pie or any meal that you make that's sweet. And the Colts are kind of like that too. They just seem to give you a little bit of drops, but they just fall short of greatness. Andrew Luck shows that he can be an elite quarterback, and then other games he might throw a couple of picks and makes you scratch your head. And just you never know with the Indianapolis Colts, but they have a chance to make the postseason this year. Next, we have the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm comparing them to pie crust. Pie crust is one of the most integral parts of a pie. They are the rock behind the pie, whatever goes in it. In this case, we're having pumpkin pie. And well, the Cowboys, well, their offensive line is dominant. Without the offensive line dominance of the Dallas Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott wouldn't have 1,000 yards. Dak Prescott wouldn't be playing really well as he has been, stealing Tony Romo's job. And the Cowboys wouldn't be where they are today. And they have a lot of wins already this season and might run away with the NFC. And what team are we missing? Oh yeah, that's the Washington Redskins. When we come over here, the Oven. We're comparing them to the Washington Redskins. And, well, the Redskins, they always start off the game pretty cold, but they pick it up when it matters the most. They have Kirk Cousins saying, "You like that?" delivering a lot of fourth quarter passes. They have Jordan Reed. They have their running backs Robert Kelly and Matt Jones. And Jamison Crowder can catch a late touchdown and give them a late win. Can they do it against Dallas? We'll find out.
oven preheated to 425. Now we're ready to put it into the oven. We can see the NFLUpdatesExpress oven is set and ready to go.
Alright, time to put it in the oven, and we'll see it in about an hour. Look at that. Looks delicious. Bye-bye. It's cooking. And we'll see you in about an hour. Or about 10 seconds. So the pie is finished baking. It's been about an hour, so let's take it out. We actually put a second pie in there with our remaining stuff. Told you we had enough for two. So here we go. Let's take it out. Look at that. And here is the finished pumpkin pie to finish off our segment, Cooking It with Clark. Thanks for joining. It's time for fantasy analysis. Here are some players that you might want to start on Thanksgiving Day, bench on Thanksgiving Day, and then one sleeper for you. So starting off, I have wide receiver Golden Tate of the Detroit Lions. Now Golden Tate, especially in PPR leagues, has been very successful this year. And I missed on him last year. I thought he'd be a breakout receiver, but didn't have the season I expected. But this year, he's doing really well, and especially with Matthew Stafford playing well for the Lions as they lead the NFC North Division. It looks like the Lions will have a great one in Golden Tate, and I think he should have a pretty good game against the Vikings. Another player to watch for is Jamison Crowder. And similar to Tate, he's having a breakout season this year too for the Redskins. He seems to get a touchdown every game, and he gets about 75 to 100 yards depending on the matchup, and so I'd feel pretty confident in this one even against a very good Dallas Cowboys team, but I think Jamison Crowder can sneak in there for a touchdown and be a good flex player, even maybe a wide receiver too in fantasy. You never know. It really depends on what you have on your roster. Then some players to avoid, well, Andrew Luck against the Steelers, and, well, he just simply hasn't played well against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his matchups in the past, and Andrew Luck has steadily improved this season, but I would bench him if you have a viable second option on your bench, because Andrew Luck just simply hasn't played well. And another player to stay away from is Jerick McKinnon of the Minnesota Vikings. And again, this isn't a knock on McKinnon's talent, but the Vikings offensive line has been pretty bad so far this year, only allowing running backs to run for 2.6 yards a carry, which is one of the worst in NFL history. And so I would bench every Vikings running back, including Matt Asiata as well. And one sleeper to watch out for is Dante Moncrief. Now, I know I said that I didn't think Luck was going to have a good game on Thanksgiving, but Dante Moncrief could be a different story. If he catches a touchdown pass maybe in garbage time, you might be looking at a very good day for him. Thanks for watching, and have a happy Thanksgiving.